Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Fratianni. Some people know me as John Fratianni, but Bob is the way Ken always knew me and Ken's family. And Ken used to say it was my stage name when I used to dance at the Club Muldoon. So you can't see this thing dancing, can you? But I met Ken in Liverpool shortly after he moved into on the Stonecrest Drive. I think it was the 7th grade, maybe about 12 years old. 49 years ago. Ken and I both had birthdays in July. His was July 2nd and mine was July 6th. And every single year for 49 years, Ken remembered to call me on my birthday. Of course, I forgot about his birthday, so the only thing that I got out of it was I got to remind him how much older he was than me. So when I first met Ken, he lived on Stonecrest Drive, as I said, and we became instant friends. I met his dad, Herb, and his mother, Alice, and David. And Ken was a very interesting person. He had a very, very serious side, as it's been mentioned, and he had a really funny side. And so sometimes it was difficult for me to try and figure out whether this was serious Ken or this was funny Ken. He didn't like it when I laughed and he was trying to be serious. So I just learned to listen a lot. Ken's pranks were never hurtful, and he was always so kind to really everybody. Alice was the cool mom. She was actually the one we liked to, she was funny. That's where Ken got his humor from. He got his humor from Alice. Alice would tell me stories about how, the first time I walked into her house, she's running around looking for something, and she said, "Well, I'm looking for one of David's snakes." So I'm like, snakes in the house? And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be interesting. And then she kind of told me a little bit about a story of when Ken was younger, and he said he was going to run away from home. And, Alice, being the funny person, instead of trying to make it right and what's wrong and let's fix the problem, she packed him a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and said, "Get out." So anyway, and he got a serious side from Herb. Herb was always very serious. He was always in a hurry to get somewhere, but he was always extremely serious. And thank God, Herb was the one that taught Ken how to drive. I was happy about that. From a very, very early age, Ken really seemed to excel at everything he did. He was always very humble. Like it was no big deal. He was an Eagle Scout in the Boy Scouts and Explorers. He was with the Town of DeWitt Fire Department as an Explorer Scout. He played football, track and field, carried that shot put around him all his life, the same old rusty shot put. I mean, David mentioned it when we were at the wedding, and it was interesting because I always wondered if that was the same shot put, and I guess it was. Well, anyway, not only was Ken funny, but funny things, whenever I was with him, something funny was bound to happen. It was just inevitable. So, I don't know, those of you that are from DeWitt, do you remember the DeWitt directory that we had in the town of DeWitt back in the 70s? It was this red book, and in that red book, it was a phone book. You would have who lived at the house, what they did for a living, their phone number. And so we would go around as part of the Explorers, and we'd go house door to door to door selling the DeWitt directory. Until we came up to this one house. And we come up to the door, knock on the door, and this woman answers the door. And she's dressed in a negligee. And so Ken and I, we're just in the zone here. We're getting names, numbers, selling, and that's about it. So we asked if she wanted to be listed, and she said yes. And so, we asked, okay, well, what do you do for a living? She goes, "I'm a lady of the evening." So I'm writing down lady. She goes, no, please don't put that down. Just leave that blank. Do you know that the two of us, 15 years old, we walked to the end of the street and Ken looked at me and said, "That woman was a prostitute." He was always so much worldly than me. He was older too, I don't know if I mentioned that. That was our first data mining, so that those of you think you invented it now, no, we had it back in the town of DeWitt back in the 70s. At any rate, at one point in time, and we started in high school, Ken was always playing practical jokes in high school. He was hanging out in the library periodical room. Now, the periodical room was a room where people just used to sit in there at lunchtime. And students used to just read magazines. I don't really know what the purpose was, but for some reason, in this room, there was a sink in there. And so, you would be reading magazines and they had a librarian, her desk was way in the back, and for some reason she had to come up and use the sink. Well, Ken would put a rubber band around the spray nozzle so that when you turn the faucet on. But somehow, in spite of all that, he always did really well in school. Ken was really smart, had a quick wit. He was very, very athletic. And one thing that many of us know, Ken had a gas problem. Yeah, Ken had a very, very big gas problem. One, in fact, that could clear an entire classroom. And in fact, he did do that one day. I can remember in American history class, there he was sitting in the middle of the classroom and boom, 30 people go flying to the window, gasping for air. And Ken is sitting in the middle of the classroom just with a grin on his face like, what? Ken was convinced that this was all caused to lactose intolerance. He said that this was lactose intolerance. So one day he decided that this was all in his mind. And so he drank a glass of milk and he declared, I no longer have lactose intolerance. Didn't work, Ken. So then either our junior or senior year, I think it was maybe the end of the junior year, Linda, but he met Linda. I noticed Ken was becoming more and more scarce. And I also noticed a lot of trash bags filled with popcorn. I don't know what these were doing in the back of his car, these large lawn and leaf trash bags full of popcorn. Well, I knew he worked at the movie theaters, but I didn't really know, these were going to be maybe a prank somewhere down the road, so I never asked. I, just kind of thought we'd find out sooner or later. But as it turned out, it was a girl. It was Linda. And she must have loved popcorn. But you know what? Linda was a really nice girl. She liked Ken. She laughed at his jokes. She was perfect. She understood him, and none of the pranks ever seemed to bother her. It's just like, that's Ken being Ken. She loved his humor. I thought this really could work. This really could work. But Ken had to finish high school first. So yeah, this is not over yet, I promise you. She was Ken's first and only girlfriend, and I didn't know it at the time, but this was the beginning of a lifetime love and me being replaced as Ken's best friend. We were now seniors in high school, and Halloween in our senior year was special, and Ken really loved Halloween. It was like his holiday, that was it. So one year in our senior year, Ken dressed up, and he decided that he would get this large beef shank bone. I mean, it was this large, it had meat and fat, everything hanging off of it, and he stuck it in his shirt. And he went to school as like a zombie or a car crash victim, I don't know what it was. And he would go through all day long with this beef shank bone hanging out of his, and it had rancid meat hanging off it. By the end of the day, that thing really started to smell. Yeah, this was a different smell coming from Ken. So later in our senior year, Ken developed a love for morning announcements. He learned that there was a book in the main office listing all the morning announcements. Anyone could put notices in that book. And the principal or the vice principal would read that announcement. And we did it over the PA system, the whole school heard it. Now this was our text alerts, young people. We had those too. It's just a different way of doing it. But as you may have guessed, this was trouble. Ken saw an opportunity for yet another prank. So he put in his first morning announcement. Anyone interested in joining the basket weaving club, please see Bob Fratianni in the cafeteria before leaving the school today. And of course, this meant war. So I then retaliated with, anyone interested in learning to crochet thermal underwear, please see Ken Lieberman before leaving school today. So we would go back and forth with these announcements, and sometimes they'd get halfway through them and they'd catch themselves, and it's like, that was kind of funny too, because we're listening, here it comes, and oh, he caught himself, but most of the times they read it, and I don't know why they didn't flag us. You'd think they'd say, all right, Bob, Fratianni, Ken Lieberman, no announcements for you. But no, they did. They would go back and forth for a while. And then finally, school was coming to an end. We were like 2 days before the end, and the next day was going to be the last day of school, the final chance for morning announcements. And so Ken decided that he would call a truce. So he came to me, we're going to have a truce, no morning announcements tomorrow, we're not going to do that, right? Of course I agreed, but... So, the next day I put in the morning announcements, anyone interested in studying the many uses of natural gas, please see Ken before leaving school today. I got the last word in. Ken was not very happy with it. Of course, now he's serious, Ken, right? I mean, he was kidding around, but no, when I do it, obviously he doesn't know how to take me either, I don't know. So, Ken, I can only imagine what the morning announcements will say the next time I see you, and maybe that's the joke. Just picture, Ken will be adding to the morning announcements, and St. Peter will be making a morning announcement and say, you're not coming up here, Bob. Please. Just kidding. Well, anyway, we got through high school, we all graduated, and Ken was voted class clown in class of 1978. Now, does anyone here see the irony of the class clown from James Wood High School one day operate a nuclear reactor? So, meltdown! So after graduation that summer, Ken and I, mostly Ken, we did a driveway sealing business, as you heard earlier. We went all over to Witt sealing driveways, and there was nothing that Ken couldn't do. He contacted suppliers, and he would negotiate prices for cheaper supplies, and it was really great. We got a discount on this stuff. And if customers had any issues, we would go back 2 or 3 times just to make sure that customers were happy. Ken was a man of his word. It was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. Following high school, Ken went to SUNY Oswego. I was in SUNY Utica, and after his graduation from Oswego, and for a short time, Ken and I were roommates. Ken was thinking about getting another degree. At one time, I don't know if you remember this, Linda, we were talking about Jiffy Lube. So at one point in time, he was looking at becoming a Jiffy Lube franchisee. So that was an interesting time. I guess I'm glad he didn't do that. But anyway, firefighting had always been a part of Ken's resume. And so he ended up going into, as you've heard, 9 Mile 1 and becoming a nuclear firefighter. And then later went on to other jobs at National Grid. It was at this point that Ken announced his engagement to Linda, and he asked me to be his best man. And of course I said yes, but I'm thinking, is this serious, Ken, or is this funny, Ken? I don't know. I assumed he was serious, so I said absolutely yes. And that being the case, this was a big responsibility for me. I mean, she was perfect for Ken. They were best friends. They were always together. They had dated a while at this point. And I wondered, in all those years of dating, had she experienced the gas? Had Linda experienced the gas? This was a dilemma. I mean, I couldn't ask her, right? So shortly after their announcement, I found the perfect solution. It was the natural gas lighter. So I gave them this, one similar, as you can see. I'm not going to demonstrate this end. So instead of fearing the gas, Ken and Linda could embrace the gas. This was going to give them a happy marriage. This would help cement their marriage. And so that's what I gave them as a wedding gift. And I guess it worked. Ken was always a lot of fun at weddings. And in fact, he and Linda were guests at my brother Joe's wedding. And I pulled a prank on my brother. And so I got all these blank keys and passed them out to all the single women at the reception. And so then I stood up and I asked and I announced that would all the single ladies please return the keys to my brother Joe's apartment. So you already can tell what's going to happen here. So at the end of the line, there's Ken with a napkin on his head. I guess it was a babushka or something. I don't know what it was. And now this is all being videotaped, so you know it's kind of interesting. It's on video, and here's Ken coming up to the front table saying, "Here is the key to the back door, big boy." So, now every year on Facebook, my brother Joe, on his wedding anniversary, he puts that wedding video up on his Facebook page, so every year I get to see Ken returning the key to my brother's back door. My family loved Ken too. He was hilarious. Over the years, Ken and I would talk, and like I said earlier, I never knew when he was kidding or if he was serious, so I just listened. Usually talk about Linda or the kids or going on a cruise. Many different stories, from planting 150 trees at his house in Liverpool to he and Linda getting a hole-in-one, or water skiing on Atisco Lake in January. And you know, all of these things sound kind of crazy, right? All of these things he actually did. Atisco Lake in January? That lake is cold in August. I can't even imagine. But Ken was always so humble. It was like, well, you know, doesn't everybody water ski on Atisco Lake in January? No, they don't. That's why we're down here now. So now let's fast forward 31 years. In July of 2014, I married 31 years after Ken and Linda got married. I was in Syracuse celebrating my marriage to my wife Karen, who is here. And Ken and Linda were there, and they came to a little celebration that we had. Ken handed me a gift bag, and guess what was in the gift bag? He had saved that natural gas lighter. It was still in the box that it came with, and he gave it back to me. Well, I guess it worked, because I'm still married, right, honey? So here's to many years of natural gas, honey. So man, Katie, that's why I gave it to you. And I can imagine when they open that up, they're like, "We got this thing back." But really, think of it more than a simple gag gift. Think of it as something, as a representation of how Ken lived his life. Just be humble and don't take yourself too seriously. Marry your best friend. Be serious and responsible when you must be, but be funny and outrageous, and always keep people guessing. Never be hurtful. Love your friends and family and surround yourself with them whenever you can. Work hard, be reliable, and be honorable. Always accomplish what you set out to do. And the next time you pass gas, think of Ken. Thank you.